Hello, I am Saffron and we are going to be going on a historical sewing adventure. Before we get fully started with this video, I do just want to apologize for any traffic noises you may hear. I live at a popular intersection of a busy street and in the kind of neighborhood where people like to drive with no muffler and rev their engines at the stoplight the whole time. So I'll try to cut out the excessive offenders, but it is what it is. My cat jumped in the window and disturbed my other cat that was already in the window. So just to get into the topic, I am rather a fan of wearing corsets as back support. And it would be wonderful if I could find a daily wear corset. I have tried quite a few off-the-rack companies. I own numerous, I have quite the collection of Orchard Corset and Timeless Trends because they are pretty and they are frank and they are relatively affordable. However, they just don't quite fit my body. My hip spring, uncorseted, is about 15 inches, which is more than your average off-the-rack corset. And I'm quite squishable. Like, I just squish real easy. So once I'm in a corset and I'm laced down, my hip spring is 19 inches or more. I can easily squish down like 6 or 7 inches and still be comfortable. And it's hard to find a pre-made corset that accommodates that. I've looked into custom corsets and that's a lot of money, man. That's a lot of money. I'd rather just buy the materials and make it myself. So that's what we're going to be doing. And of course I looked around at various patterns and I found one in particular that intrigued me that looked like it'd be really comfy. I bought it early 2019 and it's just sat around my house unused. So this is the pattern that I selected. Let me take it out of the bag so we don't have that glare. Unlike my glasses, I didn't feel like putting contacts in because I can't see as well with contacts. We've fussed around with prescriptions and we get to like close but not quite, and I didn't want to fuss around anymore. So I have a prescription that works, but I don't want to. I'm filming this in the middle of my workday from a muggle job, and I don't want to sit on the computer with contacts in, and I don't want to fuss around with taking them out. Because if I take my contacts out and then put my glasses back on right away, it's like walking around drunk for the next 2 hours because my brain just doesn't like the difference. I didn't get contacts until I was 29. I've been wearing glasses since I was like 7. So my body's just used to this. At this point, I should have asked about getting contacts when I was a kid, maybe in high school. Probably could have. I didn't. So here is our lovely pattern without plastic glare. It is the Ageless Patterns 1893 corset for traveling, riding, and bicycling. The thing about it that intrigued me was, first of all, hey-oh, shoulder straps. Extra support. My boobs are heavy. It is what it is. They're heavy. I just have really dense tissue, and so for their size, they're just, ugh. They're not small either, but I'm a double F, which is like, to be honest, an average cup size. Most people we think are a double D are probably a double F, because American bra sizing is lies. It's lies, but that's not for this video. This corset has these lovely elastic panels on the sides, so that while you are being an active 1890s lady on your bicycle, you have a little more range of movement, which is great, because, well, being able to bend is fun. Not that I can't. I have in a full overbust corset. Broken down, packed up my Renfair shop. Broken down tents. Scooped my tantruming 2-year-old nephew off the ground. So it's not like it's impossible to move in a corset. But you know, a little more comfiness would be nice. So I got this, bought it, did nothing with it for a long time, and then it had a sudden fit of inspiration. Why don't I not only make the corset, but make a full outfit to go with it? Sounds fun. So I went to trulyvictorian.com, or well, actually it's like trulyvictorian.info, or is it .net? I don't. Their ending of their website is strange to me, but I went to Truly Victorian and purchased some more undergarments, chemise and drawers, petticoat, and I picked out a blouse waist and a skirt that were also indicated for $18.93. The remaining undergarments are a little looser in their time frame, but they're underwear. That's something you would just, you just keep wearing it till it gave out and maybe remake it. So I ordered my patterns and then eagerly awaited for them. And then as I eagerly awaited for them to arrive, I started creating a character in my head for who would wear these garments. Oracle, oh my lord. So this character is more or less an experiment in where would I be if I lived then? Because curiosity. I have been obsessed with historical everything since when I was in 2nd grade and my mom gave me Little House in the Big Woods as my first chapter book. And then I became thoroughly obsessed with the olden times and wanted to learn how to sew and knit and crochet and all the shit that they do in the books. So I did, eventually. Not as a wee child as I wanted, but eventually. I'm a 30-year-old woman who can make anything, just about. If I don't know how to make it, I will figure it out and I'll do it. So I haven't named the character because I don't know. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if we're just assuming I got picked up and put down in the past and it's just me. Maybe. And for this just idea person in my head, I'm using details of what I know about my family history, the little tiny snippets people bothered to mention around me, and then doing some Googles to fill in the rest of that information, because it's faster than trying to get information out of 80-year-old grandparents. So here's what I do know. I'm basing this off of my maternal grandparents' family. We are from County Louth in Ireland. We came to America sometime in the 1700s. And then at some point we picked up, moved to Iowa, and started farming on a homestead. We farmed that homestead until when my mom was a kid. I'm a little fuzzy on when the change happened, but I could probably Google it and figure it out. The year, but it's not important to this project, so I didn't bother. But sometime when my mom was a kid, between the 60s and the 70s, probably in the 70s, the area the farm was annexed by a larger nearby city, and so the taxes went up, and my grandpa went, fuck your taxes, bought another farm farther out of town and moved. Because I ain't paying those property taxes, that's too fucking much. We're cheap bastards. It's great. It is what it is. So, that vagueness, I don't have a lot of precise details, I just know tiny points with big gaps in the middle. So, I did some research on the area. Need to plug my camera in because that battery is almost dead. So what I did discover is that the area where my family farm was at one point a reservation for the fox and the sack. In 1842, a treaty was signed with them in which they ceded the land and had to be out by 1845. settlement opened up in 1843. So for the purpose of this character, let's assume the family moved here sometime in the 1840s. Like mid-1840s, somewhere between 44 and 46. Roundabouts there. So by 1893, the family would have had a very well-established firm and been comfortable. Not rich, not poor, somewhere in that middle. Because we had a big-ass farm. The current farm now is 400 acres, and well, I don't know as much about a Victorian era farmer's income in today's money. My current existing grandpa, who is still running the farm, has 400 acres and makes 6 figures a year. Not high 6 figures, but just... He has us check his mail when he's on vacation in Texas for all of winter. And one time he had me open something from the IRS and I saw how much he makes, and it's not bad. It's not. I mean, I would consider it rich. Some people would consider it middling. It depends on your individual economic status. I grew up on food stamps, so to me, $140,000 a year is fucking rich. But as I'm fleshing out my character, I'm just thinking about economical status, and of course, other things we need to consider would be if we're just picking me up and putting me in the past. Where would I be as a lesbian in the past? That's the fun question. I will be attempting to do more research on queer history as this project goes on, but it might be difficult to find, especially for this area. My cats are in a mood today. My family is, of course, Catholic, so that also makes it fun. Probably wouldn't have been out. I don't think a lot of people were then. It was like a very secretive hush-hush thing. So, we'll just assume that this character would just be unwed, probably living on the farm, helping out during peak season, and also, because it's the 90s and women are having more freedoms and more economical opportunities, probably also working in town as, in a shop as a shop assistant of some sort. Just for the fun of it, I decided, I was sitting here going, what if I was like dressmaker or milliner's assistant, and I just decided on milliner because sounds fun. Pardon the semi. So with that assumption, what I'm going to be making is more or less what she would have worn to work. What she would have worn on the farm is entirely different, and I may, in fact, just make like her whole wardrobe, her church clothes, her work clothes, and everything, because I'm a nerd and that sounds fun. I will be hand sewing everything as much as possible. Not entirely out of a dedication to historical accuracy, because, I could very well sew it on the machine, because they did have sewing machines, and they were becoming fairly popular at this point. Not every household had them, but more or less someone in your neighborhood would have a sewing machine, and they would often share it with the neighborhood so that everyone can, take turns using it and crank out clothes faster. Because those fashions, we just want to keep up with them. We are but vain women, after all. I will be hand sewing because I hate machine sewing, and I love hand sewing. It aggravates my carpal tunnel, it aggravates my tendinitis, but I love it. It's just, I don't know what it is about hand sewing that I like so much, but I do know what I don't like about machine sewing, and that is I have a habit of going too fast on the pedal and also spacing out, feeding my fabric through, and then next thing you know, I have borked up a seam for like 5 or 6 inches, and I have to decide if I just want to leave it borked or fix it. That's too much work. I have ADHD, and that is why that happens, and it's easier if I am forcing myself to pay attention to my hand sewing, because even if I do space out and bork something up, I can usually fix it within like 2 or 3 stitches. And if I have to rip something out, there's a lot less to unpick. So, hand sewing. Whenever possible. I might have to machine sew the elastic on the corset. I will try not to. I have hand sewn elastic into garments before. I've entirely hand sewn a modern dress and hand sewn the elastic into it. Just sitting there. It's a pain. Sitting there stretching the fabric with this hand, or stretching the elastic to the fabric with this hand, and effectively giving myself a claw, because don't do that if you have carpal tunnel. If you have carpal tunnel syndrome, do not hand sew elastic. Does that stop me? No. I was bound and determined to sew this entire dress by hand, so I did. So stretching the elastic and doing little overcast stitches. It works great. It fits great. I had to take like week-long breaks in the midst of that because the carpal tunnel claw, that little thing that happens when you aggravate your carpal tunnel too much and your hand just like seizes up and you can't use it and it's just like this. Yeah, that kept happening. I will also be ordering most, if not all, of my supplies online, partially because pandemic, partially because we don't have good fabric stores in Iowa. We have Joann's, we have Walmart, we have Hobby Lobby. That's it. In some towns you have like a little local quilting shop, but none of those places carry the kind of fabrics I'm going to want for most of these garments. So, internet! I have already ordered and received the fabric for the chemise and drawers, which are of course the first layer. I've started on them. I'm well into the chemise, so video coming as soon as that gets done. And this will be my fun project as the country just descends into further madness. So, join me if you would like.